along with all the wonderful things we read about in the parsha, the second part of it is so puzzling. Here we are, the Jewish people, miraculously left Egypt, left enslavement. We saw the hand of God. It was clear. And then, Matan Torah, the revelation at Sinai. We hear Hashem speak. An entire nation that attained prophecy. There we are in the desert, in the wilderness, eating man from heaven. And in the parsha, they're complaining. We missed the good old Egyptian food. And meat, although they didn't have livestock. They're complaining. What are they complaining about? They're surrounded by clouds that are washing and ironing their clothes as they wear them. They're in the wilderness. The mountains are flattened. The snakes and scorpions, they're wiped out. They're living miracle. Now we missed the cucumbers and the zucchini and whatever it was. That's their problem. What are they complaining about? The answer is simple. If we look into our own lives and our own struggles, we do this all the time. We grow and we have opportunities for more growth, but we fear. We fear. We fear higher levels of responsibility. The more you grow, the more is expected of you. We're afraid. It's so much easier to remain small. Nothing's beneath you. You don't have to take responsibility for anything. This is such basic human nature. Feels great to be elevated, but it's scary. It's scary. We don't like that level of responsibility. We prefer remaining comfortable. Yeah, they all attain prophecy. But there's a fear of living on that level. Come on, we want the good old days in Egypt. The good old days in Egypt, you were slaves there. Yeah, sitting around and eating what we got our hands on. What was so great about those days? There was nothing expected of us. We're downtrodden slaves. Nothing was expected of us. It's a simple life. So we were tortured, big deal. Better live with a little torture and not have responsibility than live an elevated life and have responsibilities. When we read their story, it's so difficult. It is so difficult to comprehend how people who reach such a level would prefer to go back to what they were like as downtrodden slaves in Egypt, devoid of any meaning, devoid of hope. But it's easy. What do you mean? There's torture. Yeah. But you don't have to make demands on yourself. You can just be passive. So when we read their story, we understand how off that is. And perhaps we can start thinking about ourselves. We're not prophets. We haven't attained prophecy. But everyone here grows. We learn to think differently. We're sensitized. We learn to interact on a whole different level. We're careful with our speech. And of course, it feels great. It feels so good to be in a higher place. But then every once in a while, you get this thought. It's great, but it ain't easy. You got to remember the parasha. Tell me, what would you rather be? A prophet? Or a slave who gets free fish? But that's really the choice. That's what it's about. It's being elevated, which means that there's so much demanded of us. There's so much expected. If you have developed sensitivities, you better live by them. If you learn to use your brain, then you can't do without thinking. Oh, life was so much simpler before this. Didn't have to think. Could say what I wanted to. Demanded everyone around me just learn to put up with me. On this level, you got to take responsibility for all of your character issues. The real point is to think it through. You want the good life or the easy life? And once you've tasted the good life, that's what you want. But every so often, we get this feeling, but the easy life is so much easier. No better than that. Don't be a fool. Don't be a fool. It's choosing enslavement, being downtrodden, being a nobody, over being great. Greatness comes with a price tag. Oh, it's worth it 10 times over. Be great. Don't want to be small. Don't envy little people who have no responsibility. Don't envy little people that everyone else has to put up with because we have no expectations of them. The rude, the irate, the incompetent, you envy them. Oh, but it's such a burden. Burden, it's greatness. That's the lesson. Simple. You have a hard time understanding them, then you should not have an easy time accepting that from yourself either. There's nothing like being great. There's nothing like being greater. And it's worth every bit of effort and every bit of responsibility. So grow, become greater. And don't let anyone tell you that life is better when you're lazy. That life is better when you have no responsibilities. It's not. It's more comfortable, but it's not better. But be great and greater.